Okay, bashuk Roshi Kolel, Chavre Kolel. I'm going to be discussing today, I guess, more of a contemporary topic. It's easy with ribbis. Everything's more or less contemporary, or should be. But it's an issue that I didn't find in any of the Tshuvas Svarim contemporary ones, more modern ones, but something I was thinking a lot about as I was going through the sugyas. If I'll be honest with you, when I was thinking about the shaila a little bit, which I'll describe in a second, I thought there's no shot, no way you're going to be matir, this can't happen. Then as I was going through the sugya, I guess I convinced myself. So I'll present the case and let you guys decide. More rabbi fnei, two rabbos, I don't know, that's a double answer, so we'll try to avoid that one, but I'll just present the case. The shaila says, the Isser beSe'ah, the Mishnah in Ein Hey. We know that if I borrow a commodity, an item, there's an Isser to borrow such an item. I fear that when you return the item, the price will go up and there'll be a shaila ribbis. You borrow a bag of flour for $5. Subsequently, it gets doubles in price. It's now $10, and you're going to be returning it. That'll be an issue of ribbis. So don't borrow it. Good. There's two main conditions, two main qualifications that allow you to do a havasa beSe'ah, maybe three. We'll discuss two predominantly today. Number one is sha'ar. If there's a sha'ar kavur, there's a set market price. We'll discuss at length the heter of sha'ar. It's most of the chabura. And the other heter is yeshlo. If you have, we paskin, the Gemara says, any amount of the item, so a cup of flour, you could borrow as much flour as you want. That's how we assume. Those two are heter. So the shaila that I want to figure out is as follows. All the poskim, as we'll see, are very busy. What about today's market? What about supermarkets today? How does that work? Good, we'll get there. Today, I didn't have the exact percentage. My brother-in-law used to work at Instacart, so one of the big online grocery stores. So there's a reason I teach in Simza Rebbe is a Cordoza teacher, so I don't have the exact statistic, but a good percentage of online consumerism happens today online. Amazon, we all know retail stores going out of business left and right. They're all moving online. So the following case is what entered my mind.
Article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. It says the future of retail stores, it's smaller.
Right, exactly.
That's how we are.
Good. So the article confirms the suspicion. So the shaila is like this. I want to borrow a specific item. We'll use let's say, a specific vitamin. Not so easily accessible in stores. To get it kosher, or maybe if it, flavored vitamin, maybe it has to have hechsher, whatever. So I want to borrow the vitamin. I don't have the vitamin in my house. It's not easily available in stores. Very simple. I go online. I could buy it on Amazon. Overnight delivery. I'll have it here tomorrow. Is the fact that it's easily available to buy online, is that called sha'ar? Is that called a sha'ar kavua? I could buy it online with a price. I know what the price is. So how does that work in terms of sha'ar for beSe'ah? The other shaila that we're going to deal with a little bit at the end, if we have time, is as follows.
You have two study.
I asked, I guess I'll foreshadow. Everything's pashut. Which way?
No, I won't take that.
So I thought it was, I didn't think it was pashut at the start. As I went, I thought it was pashut, and I asked different rabbanim, and I got two studim as to whether or not it should be pashut or not. So, so there's definitely not two studim. It's just a question of who you ask which side.
I'm still confused.
Okay, so
What's a sha'ar?
that's hopefully what we'll get to throughout the Chabur. The second shaila which I want to discuss, which I think is a little more cut and dry, is as follows. Let's say you assume like one of the pashut studim that's not called sha'ar. I don't know which side that is, but theoretically it's not called sha'ar. So just because I could buy this vitamin on Amazon doesn't mean anything. I need to have yeshlo. It needs to be I have in my hand. So what do? I quickly hit buy now on Amazon. It's going to arrive in a day from now. And I go downstairs to my next door neighbor and say, I already bought it. It's called yeshlo. As we'll see, there's a heter of achiyavo b'ni. It'll be here in a day. So now I could borrow the vitamin from you because it's already called yeshlo, achiyavo b'ni. Is that such a heter of yeshlo? Even though currently I don't have it, it's not my rishus, I don't have access to it. I might have not actually bought it, depending on how you work with credit cards. That's what we'll see. Is that called yeshlo? Is that called achiyavo b'ni? Those are two shailas. I'm getting a face like neither of them have a shaila. But okay, we'll go through it. Good. So to begin with, we have to figure out what the heter of sha'ar is. That heter really comes from the Gemara on Ayin Beis and Beis. The mission there is not talking about the heter beSe'ah. It's talking about Ein Poskim LaPeiros, which we'll get to. It'll be very important as we define what a sha'ar is in Kuf Ayin Hey, Siman Kuf Ayin Hey. But the Gemara there has a line that quotes the line from Rav Huna in the bold. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Huna, Ein Lovin al sha'ar bashuk. We don't allow you to take a halva on the sha'ar bashuk. A little bit of an ambiguous line. And the Rishon is trying to figure out exactly what it means. The Gemara goes through a little bit of a shak of the Torah. Did Rav Huna really think it? And the Gemara comes to Maskana, Mikar Sav Rav Huna in the bold at the bottom, Mikar Sav Rav Huna Ein Lovin, came to Shamalei Reb Shmuel Barchia, Amar Reb Elazar Lovin, Amru, Amar Ihu Nami Lovin. I'm going to the Maskana that Reb Huna says, Lovin Ashar Shebashuk. Now what does it mean, Lovin Ashar Shebashuk? Rashi has two deos, and there's other deos in Rishonim. I'm really only going to focus on the dea that gets brought down, Halach L'maisa. Everyone quotes from Geonim, from Bahag. And that's Rashi's second dea. Says Rashi in source 3 in the second dea, Uvahalachos Gedos Mefarish, Ein Lovin Sabasa Smach Shar Bashuk, the name of Hovachiti Bahani Vachiti Bashili, Havli Ke'achi Ovabini or Aj Emsa Mafteach. Says Rashi, quoting from the Bahag, that doesn't mean that Lovin Ashar Bashuk, doesn't mean that you can take out a loan on Shar Bashuk. Says Rashi means, says the Bahag, it means Sabasa. There's a heter of Shar Bashuk for Sabasa, meaning if I want to borrow a commodity, I'm allowed to borrow the commodity assuming that there is a fixed price. And Rashi says, why does it work? Says Rashi, because it's like Ad Shiavu B'ni, as we didn't see, but the Mishnah on source 1 says that the heter of Sabasa is Ad Shiavu B'ni. If you have the item, but your son just has it, he's coming from overseas, from somewhere else, he's on his way, that's called Yeshlo, we consider as if he has it. So Rashi's telling you, even though you don't currently own the item, it's not in your Rishus, but since there's a fixed market, you can easily get the item, we consider as if you already have it. So a heter of Sabasa works if it's Yatsa Shar. Good, that's the Bahag. I'll point out the nuance. Rashi uses the heter of Ad Shiavu B'ni. We'll see the Ramban quoting the Bahag and the Mukha Yosef, when all the other Rishonim, they explicitly use the heter of Yeshlo. Says the Ramban in source 4, Ein Lovin Ashar Shebashuk, V'asik came to Shamal Reb Shmuel, Amar Ihu Nami Lovin, Perish Geonim, Ein Lovin Sabasa Asmach Shar Bashuk, Lomer Hova Yatsa Shar, Kimishi Yeshlo, Dachiti Bahani B'chiti B'shili. So, whereas Rashi quotes the heter of, it's considered Ad Shiavu B'ni, the Ramban quotes the heter of Yeshlo. Are those two things different? Probably not, almost for sure not. Rashi in the Mishnah on Ayin Hey, when he describes Ad Shiavu B'ni, says it's the exact same thing as Yeshlo. So, but they quote the Bahag in two different ways. Some quote it as Ad Shiavu B'ni, some quote as Yeshlo. Why might that be significant? Because just, how much immediate access do I have to have of the item yet? Ad Shiavu B'ni, the item is not in my hand. I can't do anything with it. I don't have it. Yeshlo, it's literally in your hand currently. Good, but that's almost all the Rishonim quote this day in the Bahag, the Rashi, and the Ramban, Ritva, Rashi, Mukha Yosef. There is one slight machlokas. The Shita quotes the Ravid, all the Rishonim quote the Ravid. Tosfos seems to hold this way, who assumed that it's not enough for this just to be Yatsa Hashar, it's not enough for this to be a fixed market price for the item. You also have to have money in order to be able to buy the item. In source 6, the Shita on Ayin Hey Madav quotes the Ravid, because of the Ravid Zel Shono, ordinarily, the Hadamrin La'el, Lovin Sabasal, Shar Shebashuk, Af Pi She'ein Lo, Dafkav Shebishal Domim Sheyachol Liknos Behem in Hashuk, V'avle Kimishi Yeshlo, Avo Ein Lo, also Af Pi Sheyatsa Shar Lo Osamin. The Ravid's explicit, you actually need the money with which to buy the item. That means just because there's a market price for wheat and the market's not enough, I can't buy that wheat. I have to have enough money to be able to buy the wheat that's available in the market. Good. That seems to be a side machlokas. I thought it was, I want to be medayik, I thought it was interesting. All the Rishonim, when they discuss the heter Shar Bashuk, they quote one halachic paradigm, which is Ad Shiavu B'ni. Right? Because you can easily get it. There's just one slight problem with quoting Ad Shiavu B'ni. The case of Ad Shiavu B'ni is you already own the item, you just don't have access to it. All these cases of Yatsa Shar for the Rishonim, you don't yet have the item, correct? You didn't buy it yet. So that should be a fundamental breakdown in the comparison between Yatsa Shar and Ad Shiavu B'ni. You don't have the item in the case of Yatsa Shar. I found it interesting, the Ravid never quotes the paradigm of Ad Shiavu B'ni, and I thought it might be because of this exact reason. Ad Shiavu B'ni is not going to work here because he doesn't yet own the item. So how does Domim help? If he doesn't yet own the item, why does it help that he has the cash to buy the item? So the Ravid is explicit. He quotes the Gemara in Ayin Beis, Samach Gimel Beis, which we'll discuss later in the Chabura. We say Mali Hey Mali Demehem. Meaning to say the Ravid thinks that the money itself works as if it's Yeshlo on the item. Meaning to say it's enough to have the money to consider as if it's Yeshlo on the item itself. Because Ad Shiavu B'ni is not going to help you if you don't yet have the item. We view the fact that you have the money itself as Yeshlo on the item itself, because Mali Hey and Mali Demehem. It comes out to be very similar to the other Rishonim. It's based off the principle of Yeshlo. It's just a slight nuance. It's not enough that you will have the item. You actually have to physically have the thing right now, and cash is the same equivalent as the item itself. Is that clear? Good. Okay, that's the Ravid. Tosos holds like the Shitas Ravid, but he throws in a very important question, which will be very practical for us as we go weiter, so we should see it here. Tosos in source 7 says as follows. Ein lovin sha'ar bashuk, u'misakne de lovin lefi the Iri saw beSe'ah, Mari b'sheish l'mos lova, says Tosos, the cases where he had money of the lova to buy the item, yatsa sha'ar is not enough. He also needs to have cash. And Tosos asks in the bold nabam, Ksas kasha, lam li sha'ar, raksha yimtza peiros yikna, fil biyoker, vis the garsi, ein lovin a peiros bashuk. Says Tosos, wait a second. If the whole heter of yatsa sha'ar is really a heter of yeshlo, meaning all we care about is that you can have the item, and yatsa sha'ar means the item is accessible enough that you could have it, so why do you bichlal need to have a set market price? If the item is accessible and it's available, even if I have to pay through the roof for it, way beyond the market price, but I could go out to the store and buy the item, that should be a heter of yeshlo, which should be a heter of yatsa sha'ar, right? So why do I need, yeshlo, why do I need the heter of yatsa sha'ar? Why do I have to have a fixed market price in order to allow beSe'ah? Easy access to the item should be enough, and if I could buy the item for all the money in the world, that should be a heter of yeshlo.
And I assume you're saying even if you're talking about online services, you can say you can pay more for next day delivery.
Yeah.
So you can literally get it from anywhere on the planet.
Correct. That would seem to follow. That's Tosos Shita. We'll see that's going to become very relevant later on. We're not going to necessarily pass on like this, but it's good to keep in mind. The Ritva, which is important for us, asks the same kasha of Tosos, and he gives an answer. Tosos leaves it as a kasha. He doesn't seem to give an answer.
Except they're changing the gears to
Right.
reflect the
Correct.
Shita.
I guess that's an answer of sorts. Correct. But the Ritva does address the question, gives an answer in the bold in source 8, says the Ritva v'yeshlomar da'afil hachi kevan de derech halvahi lo hitir chachamim ela b'yeshlo o ad sheyava b'ni o ad sheyimsa mefteach ein lanu sheyeh peiros bashuk chashuvin kilu yeshlo lavos lem ela kishashar kavua shekol adam motzi peiros bashuk kol zman sheyeh tzad dechilek kishar kavua ein peiros mitzuyos v'chol adam likach. Says the Ritva, why doesn't it work to be able to have access to the item? A practical concern. Kolzman, there's not kfiyah sha'ar. Kolzman, there's not a fixed market for this item. The item is not going to be easily accessible. For there to be a heter of yeshlo, i.e. a heter of yatsa sha'ar, which is the equivalent of yeshlo, that has to be easily accessible items. That only takes place once there's a sha'ar kavua. Until there's a sha'ar kavua, you can't easily access the item. Right? So it doesn't help you, Tosos, that you could theoretically have bought the item for more expensive, because kolzman, there's not a yitzis sha'ar, there's not a sha'ar kavua, there isn't easy access to this item. This has become extremely relevant because, as we'll see going forward, Shulta Rush, and this is going to be very relevant to nowadays, the Ritva is making a very practical, economical assumption. The access of an item is contingent on a fixed market. And as long as when there is a fixed market, there is high demand, there is a lot of access. In our day, we don't have a fixed market, and yet we probably have higher access than they did. So how does that reality in today's market reflect this assessment of the Ritva? In our market where items are readily available without necessarily having a fixed price, so how does that impact the gather of yatsa sha'ar within this assumption of the Ritva? We'll see going forward. That's where a lot of the poskim we're going to discuss. Good, everyone? Okay. Adkan is all part aleph of the shir, i.e., quick summary. The heter of beSe'ah, one of the main heter is yatsa sha'ar, and yatsa sha'ar, most of the Rishonim seem to understand as being equivalent, almost synonymous with the heter of yeshlo. So really, I said there's two heterim in the beginning. There's a heter of yeshlo, there's heter yatsa sha'ar. It's not true. They're basically one and the same. Good. That's the first chelek. Are there any Rishonim who disagree? Did any Rishonim think there's a different heter of yatsa sha'ar, a different svara for the heter of yatsa sha'ar other than yeshlo? The answer is yes. The Meiri in source 9 gives a different svara. I'll just skip to the bold. It says the Meiri, Sher mikol makom, it's Irin Samach Beis, Shalom Komo. The Meiri says, Sher mikol makom, kol sheyatsa sha'ar, libo somach alos sha'ar, ve'enu mechaven l'shum hevach. Says the Meiri, that kolzman you have a sha'ar kavua, so kolzman you have a fixed sha'ar, fixed market value for this item. So the malva, when he lends the item, is not assuming he's going to get anything extra in return for the item. Could have been the malva gives you a bag of flour. He knows the market's about to crash. Price of flour is going to skyrocket. So he knows he can make a quick buck. He'll give you a bag of flour today for $5 to get back $10 tomorrow, and he'll make 5 quick bucks. Kolzman is a sha'ar kavua, says the Meiri, the malva is being so mixed that the price is going to stay the same, and he's not assuming that he's going to make any money on this quick flip, right? That's the svar of the Meiri. Okay, Makes sense. Could have said such a thing. Most Rishonim don't. The Sha'ar Day in source 10, Kuf Samachim Gimel, is very unhappy with all the Rishonim, and he presents a different svara. You can read it. The Sha'ar Day's real issue. I'll read in the bold. He just thinks linguistically the other Rishonim don't make sense. He says, Im kain, my kamar b'shas hatam delovna sha'ar bashuk mishum daha b'chiti b'hani v'hachiti b'shili. The Gemara tells you why lovna sha'ar bashuk. It's because if I can't buy it here, I could buy it somewhere else. That's the svar of the Gemara, right? So the Rishonim don't quote that svar. The Rishonim quote the svar of Yeshlo. If the heter of sha'ar bashuk was mishum Yeshlo, why does the Gemara give a different svara? That's not the svara of the Gemara. The Gemara should have said, because it's Yeshlo. Right? That's what Sha'ar Day is bothered by. Says the Sha'ar Day, the Rishonim are calling something that's not the svara of the Gemara. So what do you do with this? So the Sha'ar Day gives a technical answer. It says maybe once you have Yotza Sha'ar, it's considered Tzadecha Beribis, and Tzadecha Beribis, even though Tosfos is Machmin Sal beSe'ah, he gets a whole way around it. He leaves us at Tzarchian. He's not happy with it. I think he says Luli Divrei HaKadmonim. He knows it's going against all the Rishonim, but okay, what can you do? The Gemara says otherwise, so it's not my fault. It's the Gemara's fault. But the Sha'ar Day is perturbed. I just quoted in source 11. The Bris Yehuda in the footnote says that which was shver for the Sha'ar Day to me is Pashup Pshat. The Bris Yehuda thinks. Yeah, not only is that the right pshat in the Gemara, he thinks it's the right pshat in the Rishonim. I'll be honest, I don't fully understand the Bris Yehuda's taina. I looked back at the Rishonim after seeing his comment, and I didn't see it. But the Bris Yehuda thinks the Rishonim don't say that Yatsa Sha'ar is mamish yeshlo. It's not that you literally have the item. They say it's ki yeshlo. It's similar to yeshlo, and therefore what they're really trying to say is what the Sha'ar Day said. I'll read you the Bris Yehuda. Mashnir la Sha'ar Day dochak nir mitvar Rishonim maker. You have to read them the way I did. The Rishon never said that when it's Yatsa Sha'ar it is literally Yeshlo. Same way that there's a heter of Sal beSe'ah for Yeshlo, there's also a heter of Yatsa Sha'ar. But it's not the same heter. I looked back in the Rishonim after reading the Bris Yehuda, and you can tell me if you were compelled. I didn't fully get it. I assume they said Ki Yeshlo because it's not literally Yeshlo because you don't actually own the item yet, as we said in the beginning of the Chabura. Yeshlo is a case where you physically own the item. In this case, you didn't own it yet. There's just a sha'ar for the item. I could own it. I don't yet own it, so it's not literally Yeshlo. It's an extension of Yeshlo. But Bris Yehuda said it, so okay, good. So that's two alternative svaras. Number one, the Meiri thinks it's a smichas das of the Malveh, and number two is the Sha'ar Day that thinks it's Tzadecha Beribis. Okay. The Rambam complicatedly had a whole different reading in the Gemara, the Mishnah really, that all the Rishonim tried to figure out exactly what he said. I'll summarize the Rambam. Until now we assumed that if you have either Yeshlo or Yatsa Sha'ar, you have a heter of Sal beSe'ah. There's no Isser Sal beSe'ah in the case of Yeshlo or Yatsa Sha'ar. The Rambam added a caveat that none of the other Rishonim seem to have, and that is Kavod Lo Zman. Namely, that even if you have Yeshlo and you have Yatsa Sha'ar, if the Malva tells you cannot pay me back until time X, until 3 months from now, even with Yeshlo, even with Yatsa Sha'ar, there's an Isser Sal beSe'ah. That is a Shitas Rambam. There's a third, really superior factor, which is called Kavod Lo Zman. And Kol Zman, there's Kfiyas Zman. Kol Zman, you tell the Lova, you cannot pay me back until a certain time. You have no heter of Yatsa Sha'ar, you have no heter of Yeshlo. Where the Rambam got it from is a discussion in the Rishonim and the Nosa Kalim. The Mishnah says, the Gemara says, Lovin Stam, Porim Stam. Stam means without the Kfiyas Man. The Mishnah said,
Kfiyas Man mean you cannot, or it's a prepayment penalty.
That's a machlok. It's a machlok is Rishon. The Mishnah assumed it meant you cannot, or the Rashba assumed it meant you cannot pay me back to a certain time. Other Rishon want to say it means you could pay me back, but you don't have to pay me back to a certain time. That was machlok Rishon.
But it pays a penalty.
They don't discuss that even without penalty. It meant that you don't have to pay me back until 3 months from now, but you could beforehand. Some people think that's what Kriyas Man is. Machlokas. Okay. So the first option is Lovin Stam, Porin Stam. Stam means without Kriyas Man. Alternatively, the Mishnah says Ad She'ered Legoren. People say Ad She'eger means in 6 months from now when I go to the thrashing floor, then you'll pay me back. Okay, different place where I'm got from. But the Chelkes Binyamin, I have it here on source 14. The Rashba quotes this Rambam. in source 13. The Rashba says, Yish Farshim Stam Shlo Kavlos Man Piron, Neshiacha Hupel B'choy Shirtze. Avon Kavlos Man Parim Maser Shekol Shekavos Man in Yochli Pro Sochsmano Shemishtai Sharbin time. So the Rashba contends with the Rambam, and the Chalkes Binyam points out the steer in the Rashba. Very interesting steer. The Rashba in general seems like all the other Rishonim. I include it, but you take my word for it. The Rashba seems like all the other Rishonim. The Yatza Shar is really heter v'yeshlo. So ask the Chalkes Binyam a simple question. 1 second. If the heter of Yatza Shar is really heter v'yeshlo, namely that you have the item right now, so who cares if there's kfiyah zman? So let's say I tell the lova you cannot pay me back you can only pay me back in 6 months from now. Okay. So, but if there's a kfiyas hashar, so it's already as if it's yeshlo. It's already as if you own the item. If I already own the item, who cares what happens in 6 months from now? So how does a kfiyas zman impact the heter of yeshlo? I already have the item. If the heter of Yatza Hashar is a heter of yeshlo, I can be kovei zman for 2 years from now. Don't pay me back in 2 years from now. But if it's Yatza Hashar, I already own the item today. So why does it matter what happens in 2 months from now? That's a Chalkas Binyamin's kasha. I read it in source 14. Why do I care that the price might change over time? We consider it as if it's yeshlo. The Rashba himself says, if the heter of Yatza Shar is heter of yeshlo, namely he could buy the item today, the price goes up. The price went up in the Lovis Bashuk, he already bought the item. Says the Bris Yehuda, says the Chalkes Binyamin, the Rashba, there's no reason that the heter of Yeshel should be impacted by Kfiyas Zman. It should have no impact. And therefore the Chalkes Binyamin is compelled to say that the Rashba, at least Beshitas HaRambam, assumed that the Rambam had a different Havana in the heter of Yatza Hashar, and that's why I quote in the bold. Says the Chalkes Binyamin, source 14, L'chor muchach mized, the Rashba hivim bedasa osrim. He understood the bedasa of the Rambam, big Kfiyas Zman. The Iker tam heter Yatza Hashar, la mishum dechash of Yeshlo, ele mishum de'echad de'acher she Yatza Hashar, lekel lamecha shemes yakru. Says the Chalkes Binyamin, what's the heter of Yatza Hashar? Once the price is set, I no longer have to be concerned that the market is going to fluctuate. Meaning the whole Isser of Sal B'Sal was that if I buy the flour today and 2 weeks from now it might go up by, a certain amount. If there's a Kfiyas Shar, if there's a Shar Kavua, I'm no longer concerned that the price is going to fluctuate. Okay, very interesting. That is how the Chalkes Binyamin understood the Rambam. That, for us, is going to have major implications, potentially. Again, if you assume the definition or the reason the heter of Yatza Hashar is because once there's a fixed price, we don't longer care about fluctuations. So Kozman, that our marketplace is such that there is no clear fixed price. So fluctuations are going to make a big difference, and the heter of Yatza Hashar might go out the window. That was the Chalkes Binyamin. I quoted here the Kunas Olam. I looked up, I know who it was. Moshe mi Kushta, I think. Moshe mi Kushta? I don't know. I saw a quote somewhere, so. He brought this very interesting. Once it's a heter v'yeshla, once it's a heter Yatza Hashar, so the Lovek could have bought the item today if he wanted to at the same price. And if he doesn't, when it goes up in price, it's no longer Neshach Utarbis. Because Neshach Utarbis, it's his fault. He should have bought it when the price was the same. So if he could have bought the flour for $5 on the day he made the hava, because there's accessible to him, because there's Yatza Hashar. If he doesn't, there's no longer issue of Neshach and Tarbis. Okay? Interesting shot. Good. Okay, that's Ad Khan is the second part is Chabura. First part, most Rishonim assume the heter of Yatza Hashar is because of Yeshlo. We quoted 3-4 other options as to what the heter of Yatza Hashar is. It seems to be the haskamas of most of the poskim is that the heter of Yatza Hashar is Mishum Yeshlo. We'll see how that impacts us moving forward. Okay. The next issue we have to deal with is what is the gather of Yatza Hashar? I just want to keep track of time. Good. The next issue we have to deal with is what is the gather of Yatza Hashar? Namely to say, how long does the price need to be fixed for? A day, a week, a month, a year? That's going to be a very important question. That question comes up in the context of the Gemara on...
Is this related to the first part, or is it a separate chapter?
Related. All going to be related. I hope. Good. This is based off of the Mishnah in source 2, in the Mishnah Ayin Beis and Beis. The Mishnah says, "Ein poskin al pirs at Yatza Hashar. Yatza Hashar poskin nach bish ein lezeh yesh lezeh." One issue one situation where Kfiyah sha'ar comes up is what we said, sabasad. The Gemara has another case. Let's say I want to lock in the price of wheat in the fall, but I only want the delivery of wheat to be in the spring. That means I know I'm going to need a large amount of wheat later in the year in the spring, but I know the price of wheat, let's say, goes up in the spring. So very simple, I go to the wheat producer, I say, I'll pay you up front today in the fall for a large sum of wheat. I'll lock in the prices of today, and you'll pay me the wheat down the road in the spring. That's the range you want to make. So as a Mishnah, that doesn't work because we're afraid the price of wheat will fluctuate unless there's a yatsa sha'ar, unless the market has a fixed price. What kind of fixed price is necessary in order for there to be called yatsa sha'ar? The Gemara has three options. I'll say to you outside. The Gemara starts with what's called, the Gemara refers to yaros, the small towns. We had a Yiddish etymology class last year. So I think a yaros is, a darfala or shtetl, something like that. Small little town, right? So a small little town in which the market is not so fixed. Prices change from periodically, somewhat frequently, probably from day to day. So that's the first getter of yatsa sha'ar. Good.
A farmer's market.
Something like that. A farmer's market, probably a good example. Yeah. The next getter is what they call, the Gemara refers to, what's the lashon again? Dormus, right? Some decently sized cities. Larger cities that have a more fixed market, not the farmer's market, but a grocery store, something like that. These don't exactly line up, but we'll use it for now. And the last getter is what the Gemara says, once the town starts importing and exporting the produce, so now already the produce isn't just staying for the people in the town, but it's being transported around the world. And that creates a more firm market, and the price doesn't change.
Is that distinction relevant today?
Yeah, very much so.
Even though everything's global?
Yeah, very much so. We'll see.
Okay.
Meaning to say, what kind of fixed price do you need? If a price changes from one day to the next, if its price changes week to week, or a price changes, it's not going to change for a year or two. What's called yatsa sha'ar. That's the shayla.
No, in terms of geography, though, everything's global.
Correct, but
You can buy everything anywhere.
But if you assume that you need the most firm yatsa sha'ar into the global market, so then we wouldn't have yatsa sha'ar. That'd be the issue. Good. So Gemara has a whole shakvatar here in source 17. In source 16. The Gemara quotes Rabbi Yochanan. Ein poskim lashar shebashuk. Maybe with the type of shuk that Rabbi Yochanan was referring to was this middle-sized shuk, the big towns. So no, Rabbi Yochanan was speaking about the small towns. We can't be posting a shuk of the small towns. Their markets aren't fixed enough. Says the Gemara. So what's that Gemara comes out to Maskana that Rabbi Yochanan, Shitas Rabbi Yochanan is the shuk, the Kfiyah sha'ar that you need in order to be Lovin, Poskinal sha'ar is the middle category, the big cities, something that has a relatively fixed market. Okay, that should be pretty cut and dry. The issue is that if some of the Rishonim, we have a steer with the Gemara in Samach Beis, Samach Gimel, Amud Aleph, Amud Beis, and this is where it gets a little bit more lively. In source 17, the Gemara in Samach Gimel Beis says, Amar Rava, Hashda Amar Rav Yanai, Mali Hein, Mali Demehem Amrinan, Mali Demehem, Mali Hein, Nami Amrinan, Poskin al Shar Shabashuk, Af Pisha Ein Lo. An ambiguous line of Rav Yanai that all the Rishonim tried to explain. Namely, again, the case we're dealing with is your poskin al sha'ar. I want to lock in the price today for produce that I'm not going to buy till 5 months from now, that I'm not going to receive for 5 months from now. So what does it mean, Mali Hein Mali Dmeim? So most Rishonim, Ritva, Rashba, Rambam, Rif, all assume the same. It's talking about the perspective of the mocher, the kona. That means I want to buy produce from the seller today. So whether I have cash to buy the produce, whether I have cash to buy the wheat, let's say, or I don't have cash, but rather I have another form of produce. I have wine in order to buy the wheat. Either way, Mali Hein, Mali Demehem, it doesn't matter if I have wheat, it doesn't matter if I have cash, I can lock in the price of the market today in the fall with either cash or commodity or wine. That's how most of the Rishonim understand it, that the Gemara is referring to from the perspective of the Kona, of the buyer. And the Ramban in source 18 goes to what exactly the Chiddush was, what would have felt otherwise. We can leave that out for now. Rashi, however, Rashi and Tosfos have a completely different read of the Gemara. Rashi is in source 19, and Tosfos there in source 20. Source 22. Rashi thinks that the Gemara is referring to the perspective of the Kona. Namely to say, that if I want to sell you wheat in the fall for the market price today, even if I don't yet have the wheat, it's ein lo. But mocher doesn't yet have the wheat in his warehouse, he can sell the wheat at a fixed price, assuming he has cash available to him. Mali hein, mali demam, says Rashi in source 20.
From the perspective of the mocher.
Of the mocher, correct. Just thinking where we should start from. We could start from the bold. ומן הטעם הזה, פוסקין על סמך שער בשוק, והוא שער היוצא על ידי חמרים הביאים תפור לשוק הברכים, ואף פי שאין פירוס הזה, even though the mocher doesn't have any payers himself, he only has demayim, he only has cash, still we could be poskim al shar bashuk. Now, there's a fundamental issue with this pshat in the Gemara, namely that the Mishnah on Ayin Beis and Beis said explicitly, again, source 1 says the Mishnah, source 2, ein poskim al payers ad yatsa shar poskin afa pi she'en lezeh. What does that Mishnah mean? Even if the mocher doesn't have payros, he can be poskin al shar bashuk. So Lefi Rashi's pshat that this Gemara of Ein Mali Hein Mal Demeim is talking about the perspective of the mocher. It's the exact same case as the Mishnah, correct? So that's an issue that Rashi and Tosfos both have to deal with, and they deal with it in different ways. Rashi, way of resolving that stira, or that redundancy, it's not stira, is to say, really Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yana agree. Again, Rabbi Yochanan thought, which kind of shar kavur do you need? The middle tier, the dormos, the cities. Rabbi Yana agrees to that. You need the shar kavur of the dormos, of the major cities. I have a Mishnah in the Gemara that tell me the same thing. So the Ramban explains, no. Says the Ramban, I could have thought that for posting a shar bashuk, you need the highest tier of kviya shar, once they're importing and exporting, because I need to make sure the price never fluctuates. Kamash Malon, the heter of Yatsa Shar is not because we need to be concerned the price will fluctuate. The reason for Yatsa Shar is because of Yeshlo, and for Yeshlo all you need is this middle tier, meaning the difference between the Mishnah and the Gemara is the Svara. The Gemara is reflecting that it had switched what the Svara of Yatsa Shar is. I'll read the Ramban inside. For Rashi's Aperish, Mali Demehen shall in source 20. Mali Demehen shall Ma'os, Shem Peros, Mali Hein Atzmon, Kim Yatsa Shar Kimushi Yeshlohu. Shelo Tomar, don't say the Taima, my Amar Ban Yasashar Poskim, Mishum Demistama, Lo Yisiakur Ad Shiyifra, Lezem Mashalokach. Don't say the reason why Yatsashar works is because probably the price won't go up. Halumimenu, Velo Mishkachas Eba Achli Ra'arbi, Damashitarayu. That would only be true in the case with the most firm shar, namely once they're importing and exporting. Don't say that's the reason for Yatsashar. Kimashman Taima Mishum Dekim Yatsashar, Kimushi Yishlo Peirosu, Hilgach Fil Bashashar Shuk Poskim. The real reason for Yatsashar is Yeshlo, and for that all you need is this middle category of a shar, of dormos. Okay, that's Shitas Rashi. Quick summary. Mali Himadmi is talking about the perspective of the mocher. It's the same thing as the Mishnah, a different svar. Tosfos though has an entirely different read of the Gemara. Tosfos agrees to Rashi. The Gemara is speaking about the perspective of the mocher, but he assumes it's a machlokes of Yana and Rabbi Yochanan. Says Tosfos in source 22. V'lo omer Rabbi Yochanan dein poskin el bashuk shayaros. V'im toma heicha shamim Rabbi Yana de postik ashar shayaros. V'lo bein dumas. V'yesh lomar the hachi daik mit kamer Rabbi Yana mali hein mali demeim v'yachlu perlo domim kemo sheyachlu lo chitim mishum demin hachitin yachlim so domim hachnami poskin afil al shuk shel yaros. The Yossi is damin the Baal Hamos liknos chitin afil b'shuk shayaros mashi is damin the Baal chitin limchor afil shuk shel achlabay v'arvi. Says Tosfos, the difference between our Gemara here in Samach Gimel and Beis and the Gemara in Ayin Beis, without the Mishnah Ayin Beis and Beis, is that the machlokes of Yochanan and Yanai. Yochanan needed the shuk shel dormos, this middle category of shuk, whereas Rav Yana is telling you any shuk is enough, even the shuk shel yaros, even the smallest yatsashar is enough. So Lefi Tosfos, we have a machlokes of sugyas, Rav Yana versus Rav Yochanan, and this gets brought down halach l'maisa. Says the Shulchan Aruch in source 23 in Siman Kuf Ein Hey. Shulchan Aruch says, "Ein poskim al peiros al shar shel yaros." We don't work with the least fixed shar. Use the entire country. The dorm was the second category. Shu kavua. Umishiyasa shar shem ladina mutter lahaktim maos lachavero lislo gimo shiitin loosam peiros koshan lakishi. Kishir ma'osav kfi osan hashar. From Nisako filu in the mocher peiros. Fine. That's the Shulchan Aruch Shita. We paskin like Rabbi Yochanan. There might not be a stira, but we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan that we need the shar shel dormos middle category. Adds their ma veish omrim the poskin shar shel yaros. V'yesh l'hakol be'isur d'Rabbanan, says the Rama, passing like Tosos, it's also Hagas Maimonios and other Rishon too, of Chachmei Ashkenaz. The Rama passing is like Tosos that we don't need the sha'ar shel yaros. What sha'ar is enough? We don't need the sha'ar of dormers in the middle category. It's enough to have sha'ar shel yaros. The least fixed sha'ar will be enough for what's called kfiyah sha'ar, and that's how the Ashkenazim paskin. Now, quick wrinkle is the Ashkenazim paskin that way with Gabe what case? Gabe the case of in poskin al peros. What about the case of beSe'ah? Is it transferable or not? That l'chor is a b'fei sharma. Says the Rama in source 24 in our sim kuf samach beis. The sim of Yatsa Shar says the Rama, says Shulchan Aruch. Haya l'osa min sha'ar shebashuk kovea v'yodei l'shneim mutar lo beSe'ah. If you have kfiyah sha'ar, it's mutar be lo beSe'ah. What kind of sha'ar do you need? Doesn't say. Says the Rama v'ayin la'el v'ayin l'kaman sim kuf ayin hey ezer mikra sha'ar kavua. Says the Rama, you know what sha'ar you need? Go to the sim of bein poskim of kuf ayin hey of poskin al sha'ar shebashuk, and then you'll find we're makel even the sha'ar shel yaros. That's the Rama. The Shach holds like that way in source 25. It says the Shach v'yishal haka be'isur d'Rabbanan klomar the cave in the derech mekach memchu einu el midrabanan v'chein hava beSe'ah le'el kusamach beis einu el midrabanan v'hayin katsav v'rav sham. Says the Shach, that's what the Rama is being mitzayin to you in kuf samach hey. Kuf ayin hey was telling you to look there because that's how we pass him by beSe'ah. The Shardeya though was not so happy about this. Shardeya pipes up. And he thinks that what's true in Kuf Ayin Hey, what's true by the case of Poskin al Aperos, that we can be somech on the sha'ar shel yaros, is not true by Kuf Samach Beis, by beSe'ah. And he thinks even Tosos would agree, Tosos is the big maker, would agree that in beSe'ah you need a more firm sha'ar. He's based off the svar that Tosos says. I'm not going to go into the whole cheshbon now. But he's machmir on Shaila. He concedes, though, that the Mordechai, the Agos of Mordechai, who is one of the main sources of the Beis Yosef, of the Ramah for this heter, is clear that the heter applies to beSe'ah. I quote the Mordechai in source 27. Says the Ramah, says the Mordechai, Yatsa Sharposkin Yusham, we don't need the Yusham, we'll get to that later. V'chin halacha deloven stam uporin stam l'sha'ar shebashuk perish be'echananel afilu sha'ar yaros dalach krabyanai, right? The Mordechai is clearly speaking about a case of beSe'ah, and it's clear that the shuk sha'ar yaros is enough, like Rav Yanai. Neged the Shardeya. The Shardeya concedes this. He knows this. He admits it, and he comes in with a whole cheshbon that's the shitaso in a couple places. Not for now, but I think the chalk is beyond. I think this the stam of all Rishon of most of the poskim besides for the Shardeya. So when I saw is that the heter of Ayaros is true both by Kuf Ayin Hey and Kuf Samach Beis. Okay. Now this is going to get to the shayla that we dealt with. Nowadays, supermarkets, common day marketplaces. What is the heter of Yatsa Sha'ar? So until now, we should say we need the least kfiyastic sha'ar. We need a sha'ar shel yaros. That we assume is true in Kuf Samach Beis and Kuf Ayin Hey. Do we have that nowadays? How quickly does the market change? Okay. So a bunch of heterim here that I want to start with. One, Tzad heter is not going to help us, but it's worth mentioning in the first place. There's a whole group of Rishonim who assume that you don't need the heter of Yatsa Sha'ar at all. All you need is for it to be Matzai bashuk. Whole group of Rishonim. There's no, for beSe'ah, I don't need Yatsa Sha'ar legamrei. All I need is it to be Matzai bashuk. I quote you here in source 29, the Sefer Trumos. Sefer Trumos quotes from Rav Yehuda Gon, Kasav loven sav lo perish mayachzer lo im sav damim mutter. Aval im perish lo ve'ani machzer lecha ve'leka bashuk lo chitin v'lo tira v'leise le lo ve'chiti kal aser ha'ika chamin ha'ushari. Yehuda is very clear. You either need a sha'ar or you need chitin. That means you either need to have access to the product or you need to have a fixed market. But if you have one without the other, Yehuda, the Sefer Trumos is very clear. There's a heter. That means in today's market, where you could basically find anything in the supermarket, most things you can find in the supermarket. I want to borrow a bag of flour. The bag of flour might have fluctuating prices everywhere I go. But if it's readily accessible, even if there's no Yatsa Sha'ar, according to Sefer Trumos, I have a heter. It's accessible. The Gedula Truma points out that l'chor, this Sefer Trumos is based off of the Tosos we saw all the way back. Tosfos who asked the kasha, why do I need Yatsa Sha'ar if I could go ahead and find it? Shouldn't that be enough? The Sefer Trumos is saying yes, and Chanami, and therefore either you need Yatsa Sha'ar or you need accessibility, but one or the other is enough. Accessibility without Yatsa Sha'ar should be enough. The Beis Yosef quotes this from...
The Gersa Taisus, where does the Gemara say Yatsa sha'ar?
Yeah, right. Meaning there's only a heter of matzoi. Meaning Sefer Trumos is saying either matzoi or Yatsa Sha'ar. According to the Gersa Tosfos, there was no heter of Yatsa Sha'ar, it's just matzoi.
Right.
Unless you import it from a poskim.
Right, but how would you know that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hear the point.
It's all right.
Yeah, no, it's on a good day truma, but it's the same kaf. It's the same. Yeah. Good. The Beis Yosef in source 32 quotes this from other Rishonim. Hagal Sashri held this way. He thought Rashi might have held this way. However, the Beis Yosef is very clear, and Halachal Maisa rejects it. We need Yitzias Hashar, we need Shar Kavua. Just having matzoi, just the item being available on the marketplace, is not enough for sabasa. So our first route to be makil is out of the water. It's not going to work. Matzoi without Yatsa Sha'ar is no good. Okay, if you fail once, try again. So what else can we come up with? The other approach, as we already alluded to in the Ritva, but we'll see more clearly in the poskim here, we show them in the poskim, is to say the real geder of Yatsa Sha'ar is the fact that it's accessible. So we're talking about Yatsa Sha'ar. How much does the price have to be fixed? Is it fixed for a week, a month, a year? What's the reason that there's Yatsa Sha'ar as a heter? Because it's easily accessible. Anything that's easily accessible is called Yatsa Sha'ar. Not that, like we said before, that you could have accessibility without Yatsa Sha'ar. The two are the same. The definition of Yatsa Sha'ar is how accessible the item is. That is going to be seemingly, I think, the mainstream halach in the poskim. It really started from a Shud Harash. I have here, it's not numbered. I guess it's source 32 for posterity, but it's the famous Shud Harash. Those even numbering, right? The Shud Harash seems to be very clear that this is the geder of Yatsa Sha'ar in the bold. Heicha she Yatsa Sha'ar kavua b'makom shavu v'havei chitin tamid nimtzaim liknos. Once it's shar kavua, it means that the chitin is tamid nimtzaim liknos. Once you have a market price, you can buy the wheat readily. Dedami ki ad sheyavu b'ni o ad shem semeftech ve'af agav dehasam chiti hani b'shuso el she'ein b'no b'kan o she'ein maftech matzu b'yado v'hacha nihi chitin d'matzim b'beit mochrin v'ashar yedea Yedua mikol makom ein biyado malos liknosam afilacha kivin to lohava el ribis derbanon shreichitim halvachitim kmosan machsilo ikli derbanon. The Ritva says again that v'hayu chitim matzin liknos muter afim lo hayachitim lelova. The head of Yatsa Sha'ar is because it's matzoi. It seems pretty clear. I just quote here the Divrei So from source 33 is mefakfek in the Rush. He quotes, it seems like the Rush is it's defining Yatsa Sha'ar as it being matzoi bashuk, but the Rush has another factor, which means you have to be able to buy it b'ashrai. And the Divrei Sofrim isn't sure what if you have one without the other. And he says in the boldage quote in the bottom, we don't have Yatsa Sha'ar nowadays. He's assuming that we don't have Yatsa Sha'ar, but it is matzoi. So is the Rush a place to be makil? Because if it is matzoi, that is the equivalent of Yatsa Sha'ar, the feed the Rush. He's not sure about it. Okay. Does anyone not think the geder of Yatsa Sha'ar is it being matzoi? Yes, the Shulchan Aruch Harav in source 34 was a big machmir in this case. The Shulchan Aruch Harav I have in the bold quotes a case. V'eino nimkeres bashuk gon shavo. I guess wax wasn't so available in the marketplaces. Im haya matzei harbe kogach be'ir zu ad she'ach hamochin b'shar echad. Right? If the wax is so accessible in the city that all sellers sell it for the same price, then he has a heter. Avol schora she'ein la achshav shar kavua yesh machor pachos v'yesh beyoser also lahakti malos al schor zu. Says the Shulchan Aruch Harav, if you have a fluctuation in price, meaning it's not a shar kavua. Some sellers sell it for less, some sellers sell it for more, but it's accessible. He thinks it's usher. He wants to be machmir in such a case. Oh, dope. That's teleportation.
Yeah.
That's impressive. He wants to be machmir in such a case. I have a story with the Rosenberg. I once fell asleep in shear behind my computer, and he called my name, and I'm sleeping. So he was like, "Oh, where are you?" And then I guess I woke up in the shear, so I picked my head up from behind the computer or whatever. Said, "Oh, no, you could do teleportation." So yeah, so it's good. Well, that's a compliment, though, you know. Anyway, yeah, the Shulchan Aruch L'chor is machmir. This is our case exactly. This is our marketplace, right? Items are being sold at stores for, I don't think a bag of flour is the exact same price every supermarket you go to. Even the same Hecker's flour will probably be a difference of a couple cents here or there. However, it's easily accessible unless it's, God forbid, COVID times again when you can't find anything. Min hastam, you walk into a supermarket, you'll find a bag of flour. I'll piskal and pala satan, but hopefully it should stay that way for many years. So that would be this case. And Shulchan Aruch is beferish machmir. That's not called yatsa sha'ar. You need to be a sha'ar kabur. You need to be set price.
Are you sure that he?
Correct.
I mean, both times he says you need a yatsa sha'ar, he emphasizes if it's mitzvah.
If it's mitzvah,
that it's yatsa sha'ar.
So as we'll see, many of the posting ones say even the Shulchan Aruch Harav will be makel in the case where it's matzoi, even if there's a price fluctuation. That's what you're claiming, right?
Both times he says you need yatsa sha'ar. He says if it's mitzvah hard base such that it's yatsa sha'ar.
Correct.
Both times he says that.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to medag. I have it here. I think I quote from the Chasmion. A lot of people want to say that even the Shulchan Aruch Harav would be makel on our mitzias because it is matzoi, and without the kfiyah sha'ar, but the fluctuation is insignificant. But I wasn't sure. I think it's an open question within Shulchan Aruch Harav, but okay, good. However, the Shardeya, the Feish is against the Shulchan Aruch. Shardeya in Sorsoi 5. Kol ze shayach dafka b'davar sheyesh lo sha'ar. D'chol zman shelo yotza sha'ar einu motzei liknos. Shekol mamtinin ad sha'ar. Masha ein kim b'davar she'ein lo sha'ar klal tamid. Be'ein lo sha'ar klal. Talmud hu motzei liknos. V'chashiv ki yotza sha'ar. The poskim is a nachum eker. Shardeya, very explicit. Most mustaber thing, Rebbe thinks, apparently. Very fair, sure. Anything that's matzor, even if it doesn't have a sha'ar kavua, that is the heter of yotza sha'ar. It's matzor, it's accessible, you can get. As we said, again, that's why I started with all the Rishonim. All the Rishonim assume the heter of yotza sha'ar is the heter of yeshlo. How easy is it to get? So anything that's extremely easy to get, even if there's a slight fluctuation in price, should have the heter of yotza sha'ar. That's the logical thing. Shardei is very fairish about it.
Even though he didn't like the Rishonim said.
Correct, but he didn't like the Rishonim. Yeah. Good. I hear the order. And now just the more modern day poskim, this seemed to have been the Derech HaMelech with the major poskim, to assume that our marketplaces nowadays, our supermarkets, since they're easily accessible, even though there's no fixed price, that's enough to be called Yatza Sha'ar, with being mosif, the fact, as we discussed, all we need is a sha'ar shayaros in the first place, meaning our gather of what we need to be fixed price isn't all that firm. It could fluctuate even from day to day, every couple of days, that's okay. So those two things together, most of the poskim want to be mekel. The Shevet Levi was very, very, very mekel. One shiloh that I was discussing with Aviam, I'm sure someone might give chabur over the course of the year, exchange rates with dollars, we call it pay rate, tiva, whole complicated. So yeah, most of the poskim assume that the exchange rates change too frequently to be called yotza sha'ar. Every second they're going up and down. The Shevet Levi was a big makel in this. Shevet Levi thought, what do you mean? It's at any moment, it was even more shaykh nowadays. I could look on my phone, was it XE? Whatever, you could look on your phone, look up the exchange rate from dollars to shkalim, and in a second, you'll know to the penny, to the micro penny, what is the exact exchange rate, 3.4, whatever, right? There's no bigger matzah than that in the entire world. I know, and it doesn't change. It might change from vendor to vendor because of how much they're charging you for the exchanging. Yeah, but that's not the exchange rate. The yotza sha'ar is what is the price. So if it's 3.4, I can check it any day, at any moment, and on my phone, I've either says the Shevet Levi, that's called yotza sha'ar, which is a big kula. Because that means if you're someone gives you shkam, you want to pay him back in dollars, in Eretz Yisrael, let's say, so it's ein lo, you don't have access to dollars, so you want to be somebody on yotza sha'ar. I think a lot of poskim will tell you to be machmir because there's no sha'ar kavua, it fluctuates too quickly. Says the Shevet Levi, Vosner, you have a heter. What's the heter? It is called yotza sha'ar because you could check right away to figure out it's matzoi. I'll read inside. Asher shelsi be'inyan havos dollar bezman hazeh. Ech tov mash ksafta bekitzer begin hayodeh shel simen kuf samach gimel sif gimel kuf samach bez. Pasher be'inay be'in havos dollar bezman hazeh. Gam im nidun oso kepeiros v'lo כמטבע, מכל מקום, כיוון דשכיח לקנוס also באיזה שער, שהוא אף על פי שהשער עולה ויורד, מכל מקום כל יום יש לו שער חתוך, ושער זה הסוחרים מוכרים, ושכיחי סחורה שהיא יסוד בהלכה זו. And he quotes a bunch of sources. The whole yesod of Yatza Sha'ar is that shchichi. That is the heter of Yatza Sha'ar, it's yeshlo. And therefore, even for exchange rates, he wants to be mekel. Again, whether we take it as far to exchange rates, that's most poskim I thought were machmir. Although I saw more people being mekel than I thought. The Bris Yehuda is machmir, I believe. I saw Sternbach's son-in-law, Kitzer Dinim, is mekel on the Shaila. He quotes Sefer Tam Ribis, Kinyan Das, something like that.
That's him.
That's him. Okay. He wrote beSe'ah. He doesn't write beSifri. He quoted himself. Okay. He quoted beSe'ah Tam Ribis. Good. So he has a kuntras in the back, and Simon Chesed, he has a whole arichos why he thinks that exchange rates are called Yasar Shar nowadays, even more mekel than the Ramah. But at least for our purposes, this Rav Wosner should be good enough for supermarkets. Supermarkets are for sure shchiach, and the prices go up and down. It should be called Yasar Shar. I quote here, Reisman was mekel in page 272. You can look it up, come and find it. The Chelkus Ben Yamin is mekel. This is your point, Aviam, in the bold. He quotes a Shulchan Aruch Harav shekasov lechem mocher pachos lechem mocher b'yosef le'esor near the Mari kishesibas hadavar mipnei chesron kfiyas hashar b'sham yisiakar achkach k'vor behemshach dvar v'ayinsham. Right?
That's not my point. But
that wasn't your point? Different point. Okay. He thinks the Shulchan Aruch Harav should also be mekel in our cases, right? The reason that he's going to be machmir is because there's no kfiyas shar. It might go up in price. Good. The Bris Yehuda is also mekel. He also deals a lot with the Shulchan Aruch Harav. He quotes the Shardeya right before the bolt. Lamam b'Shardeya, Kosav shedavar she'en lo shar klal tamad hu motzei liknos v'chashik yos hashar v'seim shezeh nachon v'ikir umashman t'sirleish the ikir toli motzei liknos v'al pianal near lefinas daiti debizmanenu rov haschoros hamotzim hastandartrim hem begeder yos hashar b'frat v'dam sheishalem pikuach al hamichrim. Now he adds in a caveat. There has to be some governmental, specifically for things that have governmental. Through the rest of it, though, he keeps coming back to the governmental. So it seems like that prat he was very busy with. But Pashas is he's being making like the Shardeya, things that go up and down in price. Good. The Aruch Shulchan also, I took it out of context and Shlob and Komo, and it's one line, so I don't know how much you want to do yet, but the Shulchan Aruch Harav also sounds like that. The Aruch Shulchan also sounds like that. Okay. So Lefi, that's one major kaf mekel, the most prominent one that we'll spend the most time on. Lefi that I want to suggest. Again, I didn't see any chuvas about this, and this is Lola Maisa. This is just hopefully the evidence was compelling enough. I don't see why an online marketplace should be any different. The items are even more matzoi than they are in the stores. Namely, I could go online, I could search for whatever item it is, it will come up, I could hit ship now, it'll be delivered whenever it'll be delivered. The prices are, for the most part, probably as standard as they in the stores. They fluctuate, but no more than they do in the stores. Why should there not be begeder matzoi, which is the whole yisod that all their poskim say of the heter Yasar Shar? Nowadays, you go on Amazon, I thought perhaps that could all be considered Yasar Shar, Shar Kavua. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure. Was that Rebbe's? That was the pashtus. Okay, so we came to the right pashtus. Baruch Hashem. Rebbe has a.
Two artists.
Yeah.
One's is very significant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if anybody who talks about this is fairish. Oh, I don't know why you can't have two sha'arim in the same place at the same time. And it's kavua. Each one is kavua. The supermarkets all sell for the same price. More, I may talk about if there's a difference, we'll talk about it later. Yeah. The bodega sells for a different price. I know it, you know it, the whole world knows it. Why does anybody shop in the bodega and not in the supermarket? I don't know. I can tell you, but it's not my business. But I know what I'm dealing with when I get up in the morning. I got a bodega. It's a sha'ar kavua. Now I decide what I like. Do I like bodegas, but I like supermarkets. That's number one. You can have different sha'ar in the same place. The second one is a broader, and I think it means Rav Wosner is totally off the wall.
He's mishpachos, yeah. My grandfather's mechutin, so.
And chilkin kov l'rav, so not mishpachos. The point is really very simple. We're missing, I think, one little point here. None of this is halacha b'shem. All of this is a machloka with regard to the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon is a kind of an umbrella. When Chazal asks for beSe'ah, it's ribbis, it's mechzik ribbis, chash ribbis, it could become ribbis. People can try to take advantage of it. You can play the market and hope you're going to make a killing on it. There's a difference between engaging in an exchange because I envision profit, or I'm engaging in exchange for convenience. I'm not going to make any money on this. And why am I doing it all together? I mean, if I have the flour in my pantry, I wouldn't be asking somebody to lend it to me. I'd say to go to my son's house, or to ask him to bring me from his house, or for somebody to bring me my own from some other place. That they weren't chayser on. A fair exchange to save tirche is not called ribbis. A fair exchange to save tirche, they didn't even think it's a mechzik ribbis. Now we can have a machlokes in when do you apply this. First thing is, only if you have money. If you don't have money, then you may be doing this for killing. You're not doing this for convenience. You have no money. You have to borrow. It's a real halva. Maybe not technically in the rices, but in the rabbanons, they asked it. But that's easy to explain why it's dafk if you have money. That's the first thing. All the others you can fit in one way or another as a machlik as to whether this basic svara applies. You like it, you don't like it, but it's not a matter of arguing about the svara itself. Is it a good svara? Is it a bad svara? It's a question of arguing, does it plug in, and how does it plug in? Talk about Rav Wasner, I don't understand them altogether. People do this all the time, day traders. In money, it's even quicker than the day trading. People try to do it to make money in minutes. Of course it's your sha'ar. Every minute is a new sha'ar. And I know it's going to be a new sha'ar. That means it's no sha'ar. If every minute is a new sha'ar, that means I'm trying to take advantage because I think the sha'ar is going to float or move up or down the way I want it to move up. That's why I'm doing this. Never, I don't think any money trader is in doing this for convenience. So you guys come and tell me that there's no use for beSe'ah because it's just a convenience to him. Don't make a fool of me. This is your panasa, your malvaviribus, or the equivalent of malvaviribus in the rabbanot. It's a sha'ar, and they don't talk about these things.
Correct.
But I think that the only way to understand most of the achronim, and even the machlokes of the achronim, is you look at it against this. Otherwise, I don't know what they're talking about.
So everything's all the Torah just being magdir as convenience as opposed to business.
Yes, I think it's all ignoring convenience.
Very interesting.
Yeah. The only thing I said before is a little bit of a chiddush. You have two shiurim in one town.
The second part's not. Second part was pashut.
I think the second one's Russian. I think that's like a muskal rishon. The other is not so pashut at all. I don't know exactly what the Zebulun Rav was talking about with the shava. I suspect that it was not Yotza Shar, and it was a little bit different. Everybody sold differently. It was they didn't go asking everybody. It's like you find it sometimes. Just you used to find it, not today anymore. If I'm not mistaken, once upon a time you could get different exchange rates in different places, and it was not because they were taking different. What they call it in Ivrit, their commission. Their commission wasn't any different. They were betting on the market. I don't know if it goes on now today, but if you saw, you went across the street, two sides of the street, and got but significantly different prices, which wasn't only the sha'ar amala, that's what they call it, amola. It was not that. That they told you up front how much the amola is. If they were giving you different prices, it was because they were betting on the market.
With respect to Shnei Sha'arim in one city, I think we learned last year in Onah that Rav Yoel Schwartz in his Mamon Kasher, he said, quotes Rav Elyashiv, that having luxury stores, premium stores, convenience stores, that all contributes to having Shnei Sha'arim.
Well, he was talking about I know.
Yeah,
right.
So if there's any dimion to be made.
Yeah, that's sure. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, well, we're about to maybe get to Dimion.
That's basically where we have two shiurim. Why have the bodega? He's open 12 o'clock at night.
Right.
Or I don't have to wait in line. Whatever it is, I know what I'm doing when I go there. I may be a fool, but I know what I'm doing. Or I may jalav, as they say in jargon, I jalav at the time.
Yeah. So I asked the shayla. I asked a couple people because again I couldn't find any tshuva written about it, anyone speaking about it. So I wanted to ask around. So I called the Bris Pinchas. He has a hotline. So I called the hotline just I was curious to hear what they would say. He thought Pasha should be mako. It's matzoi. What's the issue? Why should Amazon? Very simple. So I tried to push back. He's like, I don't know. It seems obvious to me. So I'm like, I don't know who it was. The guy who picked up the hotline. So whoever that's worth. I emailed Rabbi Reese just to ask his if he had any sources or whatever. He thought to be machmir. He didn't think. He thought to be machmir. He thought there's no sha'ar kavua. The prices aren't set. Even if it's matzoi, the gather sha'ar kavua, it's a set market price. Okay, I tried to show him all the sources that say matzoi is the gather. He thought that was a chiddush.
Forget matzoi. Isn't Amazon a sha'ar kavua?
Amazon itself. Yeah.
It'll change the market.
It changes price quickly. Somewhat quickly.
Not because of speculation. Everybody knows you'll get the best price on Amazon.
Yeah, but if you go to Amazon, they'll say we have multiple suppliers and they have different prices.
But again, that's all
Then
within.
you have 7 prices.
Right,
Seven
that's
sha'ar.
what we're about to get. I'll just quote the Horst Nassim Geshendler. He thinks that a heter for this reason. He says, what's the definition of a sha'ar? Sha'ar is a range of prices as comes up in Dinei Ona. So you have the low end of the price range, you have the top end of the price range. That's all called the sha'ar. So he thinks it's all called Yotze Sha'ar nowadays for a different reason, not because it's matzoi, but because that is what the sha'ar is. Again, Hilchos will know what to do with that. So now we know is a 6 over the top range, over the average, or there's no sha'ar at all, and therefore we throw the whole thing to the wind. That's Chokes of Hosting. But he thought like that. And who else? I also asked Rav Savlaski, I just saw him, so I asked him.
Isn't he really saying that a different sha'ar, you can have 2 sha'ar in one place?
Why? What?
Okay, I don't.
Yeah,
If he
yeah.
meant it good, if not, so he said something else.
Yeah.
He calls it one
He
sha'ar.
says that, yeah.
Right.
one.
He thinks it's one. He thinks.
2 shiurim in the same place is 1 sha'ar.
Okay. But then it becomes a subtle difference how you're magdir.
Yes.
I mean, the difference between bodega and supermarket is because they serve different functions. So that could be 2 different sharim. I mean, you might have the nighttime market and the daytime market, and those are 2 different sharim. But if I have 2 stores in the same market that are selling wheat, that's 2 sharim. That's 1 sha'ar, no?
Yeah, there's-
Not the Yehuda.
Yeah, that's
There's
it.
obviously a reason why one store is selling this for more and they're still in business, right?
Well, in Machne Yehuda.
Because people are tourists are stupid enough to buy it, no?
Whatever the reason is.
The same market selling.
So that's still called 2 sharim.
That's not too sure.
That's 1 sha'ar.
Unless that you'll tell me that there's
Higher quality.
6 such. No. There's 6 such, and they all have a different price, and the sha'ar is the range. That they get that.
That's what he's saying.
Right.
Range is
A
one.
range is called 1 sha'ar. But for Rebbe, you assume that you could have 2 sharim in one place, is they have to be serving different purposes or different. Not Yehuda. Okay, good. Okay, just to finish up very quickly, I have here a source for one. The Pnei Yeshua is very machmir in this. He thought the Sharm Sha'ar Yaros really means that they last maybe even weeks at the same price. He's known to be a big machmir in the Shaila. I also saw the Marmal Shakir was machmir, similar to the Pnei Yeshua. There's one small nekuda and then one last point and we'll finish. The biggest time I think you could have in the heter, I think, is Mechatesi, that I could be so mech on the shar of the internet, meaning to say, I live in New York, so I know the soup in Brooklyn. So supermarkets in my radius is called my shar. If I'm getting something shipped from Temu from China, that's China's shar. Very good. Who says that's my shar? They're going to deliver it to me in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I could in the times like Mark, I could travel from Pumpadisa to wherever in 2 weeks. In Pumpadisa, my shar isn't where I could get to in 2 weeks from now. That's not called Yotze Sha'ar. My shar is where I am in Pumpadisa, right? So maybe if China has a shar that I might have access to because they'll deliver it to me in 2 weeks, that's not called my shar. That's called the enemy shar. I can't be misovach on that shar. So for that, I thought we had a heter of the Mordechai we quoted before. The Mordechai quotes a Yerushalmi, and so it's 42. Yotze Sha'ar poskim Yerushalmi, Yotze Sha'ar b'Tzferia, poskim al yaris hasmuchin la afbish osam yaris lekashar kemen shesmuchos Tzferia poskim shar Tzferia. The Yerushalmi seems to say if Tveria itself, let's say, doesn't have a sha'ar kavua, but the smaller cities or towns around Tveria do have a sha'ar kavua, so smaller towns could be so mech on the sha'ar of Tveria. The Beis Yosef in source 43 just adds in a caveat, it has to be that those small towns are actually so mech, get their produce from Tveria. If it's just, they never went to Tveria, they never got the produce, they're always internally working, so Tveria has no impact on them. I thought it was, we seem to pass that way, the Shach passing is that way.
We have a global village.
Right, I thought it was a very simple dimion. Today, the Yaros Smuchos at Tveria is China. We can get to China the same way they can get to Tveria. So it should be no different.
maybe Trump's tariff laws will change things.
Okay.
We are some of China.
So you just pay more for this shar, but you still have access to it. It just costs
Why
more.
do you even need that? Meaning in China, they're going to sell whatever they're going to sell on AliExpress for a different price. On AliExpress, they're selling for the Americans.
Yeah, but
it's the shar that they're selling for the Americans.
Okay, I hear. Meaning they're conveying an entire different shar for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Could be interesting.
Meaning on AliExpress, if you're buying a sheitel, so they're not selling the hair to the people in China for the same price that they're selling a sheitel to whoever they're selling a sheitel.
Right, they know that the people in Brooklyn will pay an arm and a leg for that. $5 a shekel.
Yeah, but the point is that it's pashut, that it's not
I hear.
for.
Yeah, just the kfiyah shar is coming from China, not from New York. So does that make? I hear what you're saying. I thought to be medama to this Torah thing at least.
Amazon is Medina Bishnayas.
They definitely have the monopoly of Medina b'fnei atzma. Okay, the last thing, just very quickly, I want to discuss is very quickly the shayla of yeshlo. So let's say you don't agree with anything I said until now, and you think that Amazon doesn't count Yotze Sha'ar. Again, the implications of what I said I think are pretty big because almost everything today is accessible online. So medicine, vitamins, supplies that you might be able to get into the store, you could get them online easily. If it's all called Yotzer Sha'ar, we basically got rid of sal beSe'ah for most commodities.
Some things are more accessible, of
A
course.
lot of things are more accessible online.
Well, I mean, for example, benzodiazepines in the United States, and you control substance and PIN numbers, and you go online, you can order from anywhere in the world without any prescription at all.
The two examples I could think of that are still of an issue is number one, gasoline. No one buys gas online. In case of borrowing cars, that's a big shot of sal beSe'ah, paying back the gas. It might not be called Yotzer Sha'ar because those prices fluctuate very frequently, that unless you're buying your gasoline on Amazon, which most people aren't, so I think that's still an issue probably. And Aviam pointed out to me the interest rates, the exchange rates that we discussed. I'm posting one, so that's called Yotzer Sha'ar anyway. Other than that, I think most commodities are available online, they're called Yotzer Sha'ar. So I think that would all be, theoretically, would all be considered Yotzer Sha'ar. Ask your local poskim. The last point very quickly is the question of Yeshlo. Let's say you don't agree with what I just said, and Yotzer Sha'ar doesn't count for these things. So very good. I won't be Somech on Sha'ar. I'll hit buy now, and I'll go downstairs to my neighbor and ask her to borrow it, and say, yeah, it's gonna come tomorrow. I already bought it. How's that work? So this is a big shayla that we're not getting into at all for much about credit cards. When buying things on credit cards, when do you actually make the kinyan? When do you actually own it? Seemingly, I assume once you hit buy now on Amazon, if I put in my credit card if that was already a kinyan, so it's called yeshlo, it's no different than ad she'yavu b'ni, meaning I already have it and I just don't have access to it. It'll be delivered in 2 days. So whether credit cards are a kinyan situmta, which a lot of poskim assumed, or kinyan kesef.
What there's like bed can be bringing his too.
You don't have to own it b'chlal for it to be ad she'yavu b'ni?
I know my son's going to give it to me. No?
I didn't make the kinyan yet? I thought Pashas already had Bailis on it, and I just don't have access to it. I thought that's a Pashas. Pashas. Could be there's the rush.
That's a bini could mean that someone else has it, who's going to give it to
Who
me.
I know is going to give it to me. He promised me.
Yeah.
Why on that?
The Chuvas HaRush that doesn't have a number, that he says beferish. I think he says that beferish.
Also, Machit and bashuk, so yeah.
Yeah.
It was, sorry.
They're just not, source 32, that's not numbered. The one that comes before 33 and after, yeah. What's after 32, that's issue. 32 and 3/4, wherever the, yeah. The Shut Rush in the bold, he says, Va'avgav the hostel mechitin him bershuso, ella she'im beno bekan, ushe mafteach matzu biyado, in the bold.
He doesn't say it's calling me.
Beshuso, no?
B'shuso is,
He has it,
I
no?
have access to it.
No, you don't have access to it. My son is in Pashas. So L'chora should be, I thought probably it's totally in that, meaning if you made a kin sutimta or kin kesef when you put in your credit card number, so at that point there's some sort of kin that took place. Maybe they're a bond number, we're only talking about sal beSe'ah, probably only need kinyan.
Certainly, yeah.
So situmta, right? So if you have that, so I ordered on Amazon, it won't come for a week or overnight or 2 days, but that's already called yeshlo. Once you're made the kin situmta, the kin kesef, so it's called yeshlo. Ad she'yavu b'ni doesn't have to have it yet, and therefore you could be lovin sal beSe'ah. So hit buy now, and then you can borrow from your neighbor if you want. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. Again, ask her.
Wait till it says it's shipped out.
So that's a big shaila in these things, meaning at what point does the achrais actually switch from the seller to the buyer, when the shipping goes out, or when you actually put in the credit card. That's a complicated thing. It also gets more complicated because a lot of times when you actually hit buy now, the seller doesn't even have the item yet. So then you get into dav shel ba'olam or dav she'eino mesuyam. Can you buy those things? I'm avoiding all those things just because I don't know how.
Wait till it says shipped out.
Why?
When does it say shipped out typically?
It depends. If you, let's say you do Amazon Prime, it'll say shipped out in a few hours.
Yeah, it means they don't know where.
Again, if it's the kin situmta took place when you put in the number, even before it says shipped out, meaning when I put in the credit card number, that's a situmta, no? Potentially.
Either way, it's presumably in the warehouse. I know it's not always, but presumably in the warehouse.
I've had it for
They
almost
ship
a
it
week.
tomorrow because they can't do everything today.
They sell that today. We have
No, he said they were telling
Now
you.
it comes 3 hours.
There's some cases where they don't even have the item shipped. They don't even have the item stocked, and they're already selling it. So that,
Yeah.
We send it 3 hours later.
either way, I'm not sure. There's no way for you to know the difference. No way if you know if are they stocked on it or they're not stocked on it. So I assumed it would be a kinyan situmta or kinyan kesef, whatever you think with those things. That would be called yeshlo. So if you think there's Yotzer Sha'ar, you have Yotzer Sha'ar. If you don't think there's Yotzer Sha'ar, you could buy it, and then you have yeshlo potentially. Okay, like on shkayach.
Oh yeah.